This might be one of the most uncomfortable truths about power. Sometimes people who are oppressed don't actually want freedom. They just want their turn to be the one in control. There's a famous line often linked to Marcus Tullius Cicero. The dearest ambition of a slave is not liberty, but to have a slave of his own. And once you really understand what that means, you start noticing this pattern everywhere. Imagine a person who spends years working under a terrible boss. The boss humiliates him, overworks him, and treats him like it doesn't matter. Then one day, that person finally becomes the manager. But instead of changing things, he starts treating his employees the exact same way he was treated. Why does that happen? Because he never learned what freedom or fairness looks like. He only learned how power works. Most of us grow up in systems where power decides everything. Authority is rarely questioned, and status often decides how much respect someone gets. So when people imagine a better life, they don't always imagine a fairer system. Sometimes they just imagine themselves at the top of the same system. Even in societies and politics, when power changes hands, the structure of power sometimes stays exactly the same. The face changes, but the hierarchy remains. Sometimes when oppressed societies gain power, they simply replace the rulers instead of changing the system itself. A simple way to imagine this is to think of society as a ladder. At the top is power, in the middle is control, and at the bottom is obedience. Most people don't try to break the ladder, they just try to climb it. And that leads to quite an uncomfortable question. If tomorrow you suddenly had complete power, would you actually make the system fair for everyone? Or would you simply take the top spot? I know it's not an easy question to answer honestly, but this question reveals something important about human nature. Real freedom is not just escaping oppression. Real freedom is refusing to recreate the same oppression for someone else. And that is much harder because it requires something rare. It requires having power without feeling the need to dominate others. This is Asli Patna. Jai Hind.